Golden Gem Games over here. We have this stick of gum and this water, and we're going to talk to you
Ooh.
guys today with the topic in mind being, is balance required for video games to be fun? And honestly, I say no, it's not required. Before we even get to talking about that, I would like to say that there should be more videos that I should start working on as soon as tomorrow because I have kind of been lazy with it this last month. After that whole month of like videos coming out, kind of insane. I did have a post and a short posted recently, so keep looking out for those. Mm. Jared, Tony, any projects you guys are working on?
Um, I still have that video. I've been stuck on that video for way too long. Second guide. Um, I don't know when it'll be out. I'm just gonna say hopefully before August, which is kind of pessimistic. I've been pretty far behind already, so I don't know.
Gotcha.
YouTube
Hold on a
YouTube
sec. My
wise, it's
There we go. My mic wasn't staying on. Well,
um. Were you done, Tone?
Yeah.
So YouTube wise, there's not a lot going on my end. Although something did happen.
that's right. He
So
had an
last,
episode of PFA just come out recently. I saw that.
yeah, but there's also about what happened on Thursday. So my Final Fantasy VIII run. Let's just say it's tragically cut short. I can't finish the game.
This is Yu-Gi-Oh all over again.
Yeah, just like my Forbidden Memories randomizer. I'm surprised you remember that.
How would I forget that? It literally screwed me over.
Literally on
Yeah.
the.
What?
No, no, no. Oh, fuck. You were talking about that?
Yeah.
Sorry. No, I was not. That wasn't what I was talking about, Luis.
No, and that wasn't what I was talking about either, because I was talking about something else, which clearly you found out late.
Yeah, no, you're talking about when you were playing it. I'm talking about when I played it on my channel way back. I played Final Fantasy Randomizer, and I was playing it on the phone version
Why would
of
I? Okay,
Final
why
Fantasy
would why?
16.
Okay, but my thing is why would I remember that?
You never know. Life is strange.
Oh, well, clearly I would be talking about the one that affected me.
Yeah, but that wasn't the thing that popped in my head. You just
No,
said, "Oh,
I
like with
know.
Forbidden Memories," and that was the first thing that came to my head.
Yeah, like with Forbidden Memories when your mod screwed me over with the soft lock.
That wasn't what I. That's not
No,
what popped into my head
I
when you said
know,
that.
I know it wasn't, but we're basically getting to the same conclusion when you say that you messed up. Like, I don't know what you're
Yeah.
arguing here at this point.
Although I did say something funny on stream. I said I did the Doofenshmirtz joke because that is the Final Fantasy ending is the second time that's happened to me on stream where because a save file got like fucked, I had to stop a game early. That's the second time on my channel's history that a save file caused me to not finish a game. 2 nickels. Uh, strange it happened
Yes.
twice.
Yes.
Um, But yeah, because when I was switching my hard drives to a solid state, let's just say a lot of weird stuff happened. Even though I swear I tried backing stuff up as best I could, and as it turns out, I made an oversight because DuckStation keeps its memory card files on the documents. And where is the documents? Oh, it's the C drive. Well, fuck me. So
Gotcha.
basically on Tuesday, I'm going to stream the game that I was going to stream after Final Fantasy VIII, but now I'm just going to do it early. So we get the next game early.
All right, that's
It
cool.
was, yeah, so when I did my poll on which game to play next, it was either Final Fantasy VIII or Shadow, so now we're going to get to that.
Oh, I thought you just said you were gonna do Shadow Rex regardless.
Well, yeah, I was still
Yeah.
going to do Shadow, it's just I'm saying I'm doing it earlier than I would have because Final Fantasy VIII ended early.
Okay, good. You talked about voting, and it sounded like you were just gonna have them vote instead of doing like Shadow, like you were gonna give them the choice of Shadow or Final Fantasy again.
I'm not playing 8 again. I'm going to have to give myself a while to get back to that game because I'm still kind of salty about losing my playtime.
Gotcha.
I
Now,
was already on disc 3, man. It sucks.
gotcha. Gotcha. So we're gonna be talking about the topic now, you guys, on if um on basically if for fun in a video game if it's required for it to be balanced. I'm guessing Jared has a lot of things to say on it, so I'll let him start us off.
I I I have a question. Actually, there's
What's your
something informed about that. The idea of balance in itself is like multi-layer because there's different ideas of balance. Like some games of balance around mechanics, like well, Mario Kart's revolved around drifting. That's what its balancing factor mainly is, and items, of course. And then, of course, there's like character balance. So we need to keep some of this stuff in mind when we discuss it.
Okay, so all I want to say about what you said at the beginning of the stream is that's a pretty black and white answer you said.
what
Just a
is
flat no. You just gave like a flat no, it doesn't matter statement. I'm like,
Well, yeah,
the thing
we're
is,
gonna discuss it more later on. I just gave an
yeah.
early answer without the
Oh,
discussion part yet. Like what I'm
Yeah,
saying is I don't think balance is required in every video game. I think Antonio did give a good example as to like what type of games it would be required for the game to be fun. But do I think it's required for all games? No, I don't. I think for most of them it's not even required for a game to be fun because I think with the way with a lot of people think is a lot of people like me, of course, prefer chaos in a video game because it makes things more fun because
this
people
is
love
probably
like
a
the randomness. People love the randomness and like the craziness of like some of the rule sets for different games and whatnot. And I think that does keep some games alive more than they're given credit for.
this actually makes a really good argument because I'm a conservative player, not a chaotic player. So we actually have opposite sides of the spectrum on this. Uh, I actually, uh, I don't know if I maybe trying to think of a way to say this right. I do actually think of balancing as a pretty important bar for a lot of games. Uh,
under what umbrella or under what or what's your thought process on that exactly? Like why would you say that for most of them it is?
Especially if it's supposed to be a PvP style thing. I usually think that people are more likely to want to play it if it's more fair.
So you're what you're
Um,
talking about for your argument is you're going off of the point of fairness and meaningful choices. Am I correct?
that's part of it. Like I say, it's a complicated topic. And now I there are games where being chaotic is kind of the point. Like Mario Party wouldn't be Mario Party if it wasn't chaotic. It kind of has to be because that's how the game works. I can accept that. But there's a lot of games out there. Uh, maybe at least to me, it feels like they. I feel like sometimes the chaos can sometimes be more detrimental than beneficial.
what game? Give an example.
Then again, there's also games that are there are games that are too conservative as well.
Hold on. You can't just skip over Tony's question. You have to answer it.
Because that was the second half of my statement. I was
No,
gonna finish it.
I gotcha. I just wanted to make sure that you
Now,
knew, just so that you could re-acknowledge it. Because with you, one can't be too sure all the time.
yeah, so yeah, both sides of the spectrum have games that kind of fall in the wrong category. Uh, a lot of fighting games, in my opinion. I think some fighting games have too many crazy things in it that kind of sometimes feels like it kind of breaks the fairness. Uh,
Okay,
like Kusoge's
okay,
in
but in what?
general.
Fairness in what though?
Okay,
Are you talking about like, for
exactly.
example, like are you talking like because I can give an example. I could probably give more examples of unfair things in video games, even if it's not my side of the argument. Then you could probably come up with right now.
So let me. This is why I mentioned earlier about different types of balance because are such fighting games unbalanced in terms of characters, or are they unbalanced by system mechanics? Because that's a very different thing.
in fighting games, more often than not, it's a character problem. Um, oh, I have seen sometimes where the mechanics themselves are kind of fucked up. Usually in older games, especially back in the fucking SNES days, games the FG fighter game designers didn't know what they were doing. I don't know if I can think of too many modern games where the mechanics are the problem. Uh, it's usually more of a character thing. Although I guess I would argue some of the stuff they're changing in Tekken 8 might be bad.
Yeah, I was about to say
Um,
Tekken 8's the most obvious thing where it's a system
yeah.
at large.
Then again, you could also argue some of the stuff NRS has been doing has been kind of stupid mechanically too. Uh,
Yeah, but like, okay, do you
but
know
that's for
how
fighting
unbalanced?
games. For
But like,
huh?
okay, but even with just that, what I'm trying to get at is, like, at one point, do you think that characters are too unbalanced?
Well, especially in some fighters when they basically share a tier of their own, or they show up as like half the fucking slots out of Evo. Because I've seen fighting games do that, where like half the players play the
That's a
same character. That's
well,
too
okay.
broken.
One, a character doesn't actually have to be overpowered to technically do that. But two, that is very rare. That is actually not common for a character to be that
So
common at
so
Evo. There's like
can I give an
6 characters.
um I'll let Antonio finish before I give my points here.
No, actually, that's all I was going to say. But besides examples, like the only characters I can think of is like Leroy for Tekken 7, uh, Ken and Luke in season 1 of Street Fighter Six.
I was gonna give an
Any of
example of my own with anyways finish.
I was gonna say Bayonetta and Meta Knight, of course.
Yeah, I was gonna say besides Bayonetta and Meta Knight, I was gonna say technically in Brawl a good example of an unbalanced character would be Ice Climbers, as they can just off of one grab just take your stock. Um,
Yeah,
Outside of that, my arguments, the reason I was trying to clarify unfairness and meaningful choices, which honestly you guys have clarified enough to where I can comfortably make an argument for this now. Um, for the most part, I can give an example right now as to why a fighting games being unbalanced can actually make a game more fun for people. There's always going to be those low tiers and mid tier players that want to be the reason their character moves up a tier list. So people will put lots of time into a character, other people don't believe them, and just so that character can get good. And I can think of examples of characters becoming good after like almost 2 decades or after over 2 decades. And it's usually I bring to the argument Super Smash Bros. Melee in this because Yoshi was brought up the tier list pretty far up into the high tiers thanks to AMSA, and Donkey Kong was taken up into the high tier list in Melee thanks to Junebug. And those characters were are in a game where obviously like they're not balanced themselves to do quite as well, but these guys have perfected their flow chart so well and their punish game so well that they're able to keep up with like top tiers and whatnot. And I mean a lot of times it's not even that oh their characters are good. They just have played their character for so long, they're making the optimal choices in 99% of the scenarios that they're in for their character that they can possibly make in order to make it as far as they do in tournaments against these other better characters with better tools.
I was gonna say.
People
I
find
wanted
it
to
fun
reiterate
over
on this.
but yeah, but people essentially like final point. People find it fun to overcome obstacles. But anyways, you can take it away.
I wanted to double up on this in Street Fighter First Strike, which is older than Melee, and it's what's it called? Its metagame has been evolving all that time to this day. And just last year, one of the a pretty low tier character, like mid low tier
Is it
Hugo Grappler,
mm-hmm.
used one of his worst moves, maybe his worst move in the whole one of the worst moves in the whole game, to actually bait a super and kill the Ken player, and that's a bad matchup as Ken. Ken is like top two, top three. I mean, so it's so cool to see the underdog win.
Yeah.
Smash is kind of interesting because maybe except for Ultimate, Ultimate's like probably the exception. I don't think any of the Smash games are even remotely balanced. Especially
On character
Brawl.
base,
Yeah.
okay, that's not wrong. Well, okay, debatable melee. That's besides the point.
I
Yeah,
think melee is probably pretty badly balanced too.
I would actually, I don't strictly agree, but go on.
um, but then again, I always kind of just thought the argument for Smash, although I know nowadays in the modern day it's kind of been mangled with now, but most people didn't even really see it as like a serious fighting game for a long time. It was mostly seen as like a party fighter. Of course, over the years, it's become more and more of an esport. So you can't. I don't know if you can really say that anymore.
Yes, but like
uh,
as proven by Sakurai, he does take into consideration specific balancing factors. But again, go on.
I think Ultimate is probably the most balanced Smash game that I've seen. Uh,
Well, that's yeah.
yeah, I can see that.
Now for the next Smash game, I don't know what direction they're going. So I don't know if it's gonna try tightening the balance further, or if it's gonna loosen up like the other games.
Well, see, you say it like that, like it was intentional. They don't know how good the characters are going to end up being because they clearly do not understand how to design heavyweights at all. But even besides that, um, when people think about if a character is good or not, they often usually think of singles. But Sakurai has gone on record in, I believe, 2024 that he has designed specific characters with different game modes in mind. So, which explains a lot about a character's move list, not going to lie. After seeing some characters, like, man, this character probably was designed for doubles, huh? But that's why I said that we have to be specific on what we mean by balance because there's character balance and then there's game mode balance and then there's balance in the game system work and then balance philosophies that they teams themselves have.
Yeah, I think one of the simplest ways I like to think about it is that if it's like supposed to be a competitive game, I think balance actually is pretty important. But
Okay,
when it comes to
so hold
a
on, hold
game
on,
that's
hold on a sec. So after Tony repeating himself for probably the third time on the stream, I was gonna bring up we should probably start before the stream because I've seen people do this in other debates on the internet before when they post a video, and before they start their debates with people, they will define an agreed upon definition of what they mean before they start debating on it. Because if you don't do that ahead of time, people can just veer off wherever they want to, and then that just makes it so you're getting nowhere most of the time.
Yeah.
So let's define what we're talking about by can you have fun, or is balance required for a game to be fun? Are we talking about individual like cards or characters or individual pieces of a game, or are we talking about like the game's core mechanics as a whole? What do you guys want to do?
Uh, how about we do character?
Characters? Okay, so what we basically be probably you're probably bringing characters up because like it's already what we've been primarily debating about anyways.
it's easier to
Uh,
talk about than something that's more
Cool.
general anyway.
We can do that then.
Now, so what I was saying, I think in my head, at least the way I usually see it, is that if a game is supposed to be more like competitive based, I think you kind of need more balance. While in a game that's more for casual play or just goofing around, I think it's okay to be as chaotic as you want. Um,
Gotcha.
which like games
um,
like Mario Party, like you're not taking Mario Party seriously. At least I hope you're not. You're just there to have a good
Mario
time.
Party. Mario Party is going to take you seriously, though.
I mean,
Anyways,
I don't play Mario Party to have fun. I play Mario Party to ruin people's day.
fair enough. But uh, so I guess let's just stick to something competitive then. Uh, I guess an easy way to gauge balance is there's no easy way, but over centralization. As in, are there characters that make other characters invalid, which is a
It's an
pretty
easy trap.
granular top.
It's an
Technically there
What?
easy
can
trap to fall
be
into.
technically technically there is games where there is a single character that just happens to solidly beat the entire cast. Like I will say when it comes to Meta Knight and Brawl, there's no character that really has an even mashup with him, nor is there any character that comes close to having like a good mashup on him. Like either beats your character hard, or at the very least he beats your character solidly, which doesn't help
Yeah,
anyone.
I
Usually,
don't mean balance. Sorry.
oh no, I know you don't mean Balancer. I was just talking about how Meta Knight is in this game. He has pretty consistent stalling on ice climbers, and he's able to separate them effectively and just make sure he never gets grabbed for the most
Uh,
part.
I didn't strictly mean matchups. I mean like characters that literally just do a thing do what another character does, but just better.
Well, yeah, I
Oh yeah,
mean, Meta
Meta
Knight
does a lot of
practically does
things
it.
better than
I
other
was gonna
characters.
say, I got what I got what you mean, but I do appreciate you clarifying more though.
Yeah.
But essentially, Meta Knight for the most part does do a lot of things better than most characters in that game. But I'm
The only
indifferent,
thing
and
he lacks.
I find unbalanced things kind of fun a lot of times. So
There's
yeah,
also the problem can go the other way too, because there's the miserable case of Ganondorf in that game.
that's what makes Ganondorf more fun to play as. What do you mean? Beating someone with Ganondorf is so juicy.
Dude,
But he feels
that's
so
the
ass to
reward.
play.
Exactly. It's
That
He feels
stupid.
I'm
miserable.
sorry, but the art but you bringing this one up as trying to make it seem like being a bad character makes you unfun to play is funny because me and Tony both agree that playing the bad character is actually fun, especially when you clip
Like,
someone or get a win on them.
Yeah, but
have you
Ganondorf
ever
is just
played a
so
grappler?
bad.
Yeah, that's why it's funny because he does
Yeah.
500 damage anyways. It's very funny because he's
I find him more.
polarizing. That's why he's
I,
no.
I enjoyed.
Actually, let me explain this. He's polarizing. That's why he's funny. He himself is not actually balanced because the idea of balance is balancing two things on a scale, right?
What's up,
Well,
Zool? This
Ganondorf
is an interesting
sacrifices so
topic, I
much.
agree.
Um, Ganondorf sacrifices so much for one side of the scale. Like his balancing scale is super out of whack, which is why he's funny on his own and is inherently polarizing.
Hey Zool, since you're in chat, I want you to answer me this question. Yeah,
Hi, Jewel.
first off, is how balanced is competitive Splatoon? Is it very unbalanced, very balanced? And if either, how much? And then also, aside from that, is the game fun still to you? I want to hear the answer to those two things. But regardless,
I
we can
actually have
keep
something to say
discussing.
about that too.
What's up?
I actually have answers for Splatoon 3 at least. And Zol did kind of tell me a little bit about 1 and 2, but not that much. Uh,
Yeah, but I'll let him talk for himself.
Splatoon 3. I'm talking about Splatoon 3 specifically as well. And I'm talking about primarily like I guess just to be more specific, if you mean on like what game modes, I guess I'll say specifically Turf Wars.
yeah, that's the easiest one to cover.
Yeah.
When you
But I
start doing
but I
stuff like Salmon Run, it gets kind of confusing. I actually personally
well,
think
he said
3
well
is actually a
Splatoon
bit.
3 is about the most balanced outside of Turf War. Oh, so Turf War is extremely unbalanced. That's funny.
Sounds about
Yeah,
right.
it's funny because most of Splatoon 3 actually tries to be at least somewhat conservative, but yeah, no, they do kind of have parts where they just don't. Um, Actually, if I
Yeah,
remember
that's
correctly, some of the
interesting, and
older
I know he
patches,
still
it was
likes it.
actually
I know
more.
at the very least still likes the game too. In Turf War, painting weapons are heavily favored. Gotcha.
Oh, definitely. Definitely.
Yeah, the
It's kind
Splash-O-Matic is killing everyone
that's
right
kind
now.
of funny because I usually prefer to use the painting weapons.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
right now, the Splash-O-Matic is like top one.
because the game mode has a very simplistic goal because a lot of times what causes imbalance can be what the goal of the game is.
Yeah, the win con is to cover ground. What does the Splash-O-Matic do? It covers a lot of ground.
Do be covering ground though.
Sure, the Splash-O-Matic isn't very good at killing people. Who cares? You're filling up so much land. Who gives a shit?
And see, that's why That's why
You're
the Smash
not
developer.
going nowhere if your team has an e-litter, a blaster, a brush, or a roller. Got it.
What did I
Yeah, the
say?
leader is
Um,
stupid too.
what was I trying to say? That's why the Smash Bros. Devs struggled making heavyweights for so long because they're like, well, the win con is dealing damage to eventually kill your opponent off stage, right? With knockback. And heavyweights have good damage and knockback, so therefore their mobility hindrance shouldn't be that bad. And then it turns out it's horrible.
That's true.
Partly because partly because non-heavyweights still have good damage output via combos.
Yep. While in the ranked modes, you don't require having a dedicated painting weapon, but it's nice to have to hold your ground and hinder the other team.
I've been a big help on his team with Splash-O-Matic coverage.
Gotcha.
Yeah, you actually want a mixture of weapons to be the best in that game. It's you can't just rely on one type and kill everyone.
Wow, you don't say.
That actually tells you something about Splatoon 3's balance, is that it actually requires you to mix and match some stuff to actually get the best results.
I mean, that's
Well, that's
usually just
because
called
it's a team
teamwork. Like,
game.
that's why I was being sarcastic
Yeah,
there. So, that's just a given.
That's
yeah.
if it's designed well, which it is.
Regardless, um, but I bring up the Smash Bros. Thing because, in theory,
I got you,
these
Zool.
developers think
You're
what
good.
happened.
Nothing. I was reading his comment, and all I said was I got you, Zool, and I didn't add anything more because I didn't want to interrupt you. You can keep going.
Um, I lost my train of thought. The reason I bring up the Smash Bros. Devs is because on paper their idea of balance is logical until you look at it for more than 10 seconds as someone who understands the concept of platform fighters. Because even though mobility is stronger, what really kills heavyweights is that they just can't recover, and that's technically part of the win con of the game is not getting killed off stage yourself. But like,
Yeah.
if if heavyweights would had like their weaknesses toned down or like their strengths heavily buffed, it could throw some of the heavies designs out of whack because they're inherently polarizing. So the chances of them being good is kind of hard, but the fact that a lot of them aren't good is kind of their appeal in a weird way.
Mm-hmm.
Like people inherently do have some enjoyment on inherently polarizing and quite literally unbalanced characters.
Yeah, Zool has given some good examples here. He made two comments. The first one is, but yeah, right now what makes Splatoon 3 fun is that not that everything is 100% balanced, but rather that the current balance allows you to mix and match several weapons. And then he also said, like another curious example, competitive Pokemon G/S is by no means balanced when having a Snorlax is pretty much required to have a good team, but that Snorlax can don't let me finish. But that Snorlax can do one of many things, and part of the fun is building your team around your particular Snorlax while battling against a very different Snorlax.
Yeah, actually, Snorlax is kind of a weird case where over centralization is kind of a good thing, but that's because it's a team game, which
Yeah.
of course changes a lot.
Yep.
Yeah, Snorlax is cracked in Gen 2.
Yeah.
He was like the Tauros from Gen 1.
Nah, Tauros was not nearly as versatile. Snorlax was just a literally I can do everything Pokemon, which is part of its appeal.
Yep. That's true. Ugh.
And
It
now
could
we
be
start
true
talking
though.
about team games, the balance gets even more complicated.
Yes, but it's still an important part of character balance because what causes imbalance in the first place is that characters are decided to have specific strengths and weaknesses. Because you can't inherently make interesting characters without introducing some kind of off scale balance, sometimes tipped in a very harsh direction or the other.
This man speaks nothing but the truth. Someone give him a premium trophy.
Yeah, here's this thing. Me and Hell have actually discussed this before. this is a trap I see in a lot of games, and this is actually a true thing that's been proven scientifically, basically. If you have a character who's completely neutral at everything, they end up being the worst character or near the worst character. Because being balanced
That's
at
not true.
everything, if yeah, being an all-rounder and being balanced at everything for a lot of games usually doesn't mean you're very good. It also means you're probably the most boring character.
Yeah.
I gotcha.
But
Because
like,
generally what players want is the character to have something they excel at. Because excelling at something is more important than lacking a weakness
yeah. But
for most games. People want to have a buff over not having a nerf.
Oh,
yeah.
Zool, Hellraiser. Zool replied to you saying, "Yeah, Hellraiser," and it's funny that everyone agrees that banning Snorlax would make the meta significantly worse.
Yeah, partly because he keeps some annoying characters in check as well, but that's slightly besides the point.
Yeah.
You know, that is kind of a random thing to ask, but like he asked me this before too. Why don't more games use the Pokemon tier system?
That would probably require a lot of people to like
I
agree
know,
on that.
but I feel like certain games could really benefit from it.
But I think an overall thing that sort of relates back to the question because I'm sort of sidetracking is that like uh the imbalance inherently creates some of the fun because like when people are saying, "Oh, this character sucks," but they excel at a very specific thing, like old school heavyweights in Smash Bros. Of course, they excel at just hitting you once and you just like die. That's like inherently part of the challenge of the character is overcoming such weakness. And if there weren't good characters to bully, like if you could only fight heavyweights, then a lot of that fun, like a lot of that like inherent imbalance that causes you to have a good reaction when you do overcome such imbalance just kind of goes away if like, oh, everybody else sucks too.
Yeah.
Of course, I'm not saying that games have to be super polarizing. I'm just saying.
The only
What do I?
game.
How do?
What's up?
I'm trying to think of what I'm supposed to say here, because like I can't even really disagree with most of the stuff you guys say. It's just
Wait. So you were admitting defeat?
like no, that's not exactly it. It's that I've always preferred. Wait, what was that?
What was what?
So,
Was the missing person.
Oh,
Oh,
this
gotcha.
is awkward.
So that where did you go? Why did your PFP change for the 90th time this year?
Soto, you're in the middle of an awkward part, but it's okay.
Okay.
No, that's great. What's up, Shoto?
Nothing much. I just got home.
Tony, you want to fill him in on the topic here?
Help.
We're discussing. I'll give you a simple question, Soto. Does balance? Okay, no, let me be specific. Is I'm sorry. Let me try one more time. Is character balance in a video game required for the game to be fun?
Yes? Question mark?
Did I say it poorly?
Essentially,
so
we're just Jared, you can try explaining it. Well,
okay, so yeah, we're basically asking if having game balance is a necessity for a game to be enjoyable.
Yes.
okay.
Oh, bro, he's on my camp.
Okay. This is good for Jared. This is good. I'm actually curious.
Yeah, because you guys have
Before,
been going 2v1 on me, and I'm like, I don't know what to say about this.
but hold on. Before we continue with Shoto elaborating here in a sec, I was gonna read what Zool said. He said another example is Hakan in Street Fighter 4 was considered to be bad, but someone managed to use his one awesome attribute, oiling himself up, to beat up several people.
Oh.
It's crazy.
Well, okay, the thing is, now when I think about it, I guess the answer from the specific way you word the question of is the balance actually required for fun? Technically, it's not, but I just like to make the argument that I feel like people don't think balance is as important as it is.
Okay, if you want to argue that, we could have rephrased the question, but we need Shoto's answer first.
I answered what?
Are you paying attention, bro?
Do
No,
you want to elaborate?
that's
Would you like to
okay.
elaborate?
No.
Okay, that's okay.
Okay.
I'm
That's fair. I just think it's funny.
That's fair. That's
Shoto's
fair.
out of here, man.
Nah,
like, what is happening?
nothing. We've been going back and forth on like examples on like why it would be why it would be required versus why it wouldn't be required for a game to be fun.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Mexi was
Yeah.
kind of, Mexi was kind of pulling the chaotic game design card.
Mm.
And I was trying to explain that I'm more into the conservative game design, but
Oh, Zool.
I'm also hearing them out too.
I get Zool just said his perspective is that since it's impossible to 100% balance anything, that you don't need balance to have a fun meta.
Yeah.
When I say balance, I
So-
don't mean like complete balance.
Well, of course
Zool
not. But
Zool
like,
Zool also added to that saying that balance is more that balance is important, of course, in so far as you try to avoid one thing becoming so over centralizing that it makes everything obsolete. And
I
I
feel
think
like I'm
that's
a,
the line we try to avoid, but
I always feel like I'm alone on this because almost everyone I know, some of my friends, they're all into the chaotic end, and I'm not.
well, see, I think at that point we're actually technically are talking about two different concepts. Because if you're talking about chaos, that's not strictly a thing of balance. Because you can have a very reserved game still be horribly unbalanced. Because if you think of a brawl, that game has the most toned down movement system in the whole series, debatably. That game is super slow. That game does not have that many combos. So it does have a lot of character specific tech, but it doesn't have a lot of movement tech, and that's by design. And yet that game is still horribly unbalanced, more unbalanced than Melee. But you can argue that Melee has a higher power level, a power budget, if you will. The game's way faster. There's way more universal tech that a lot of characters can take advantage of, and there's whack ass combos, chain grabs, etc. that a lot of characters can abuse. And overall, characters are more capable of doing dumb crap in Melee than Brawl, but Brawl's
mhm.
still more unbalanced.
I think Brawl is the most unbalanced of any Smash game.
But that's besides the point. I'm trying to highlight the point of power level because you might be confusing power level with balance, which are two completely different things.
Okay, maybe I did sound like that. I just know that generally speaking, something that is more conservative is usually easier to balance.
I wouldn't strictly say so.
As the more crap whack ass things you do, the harder it is to keep it in check.
No, I'd argue that if you give every character a gun, by nature, technically it's more balanced because you have a way to deal with it. If you had made a very conservative game, but a character happens to have a bow and arrow, but nobody else happens to have a bow and arrow, it's like way harder for those other characters to deal with it in theory. Of course, this does not always play out like that in games or anything. It's just that this is how it could theoretically work in theory. Because Rainbow Six Siege had this problem where they kept nerfing literally everything, and it just made the meta horribly over centralized at whatever just so happened to be too strong.
It's interesting. Pretty interesting.
Damn it. It makes it so hard to argue anything.
Exactly. That's the point of a debate.
Oh, it's
Insanity.
come on. You
Sorry,
gonna
what'd you say?
Are you gonna say anything, Shoto?
No, sorry, I want to hear what you said.
I said, I said that was insane, and also, Nintendo, please fix your netcode.
I agree.
Oh, yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
100%.
That's a topic for another day.
Yeah.
You know,
Fucking bad
do you
netcode.
guys know
Nintendo, your netcode.
do you guys know how many fans could write their net code for them better than they do?
Oh,
Yes.
absolutely, bro. brother.
Slippy.
But anyways, what were you trying to say, Jared?
I guess maybe how do I put it? I suppose what I said near the beginning is accurate. I do kind of care a lot about quote fairness, which I know that's also kind of abstract, but I didn't know what else to call it.
See, okay, sorry, you go.
So I think that's technically the most important thing. Like, sure, I suppose if you're just talking strictly balance wise, a game that is less balanced can, in a weird way, be more balanced, if that makes any sense. Uh, and of course, how crazy the game is isn't always the factor that determines on how well the game's designed. I mean, some games are over designed, some are under designed, but that's another thing.
Do you know
Yeah.
what's funny, Tony? Is I could come up for I could come up for things to help Jared argue this better, but I chose not to so far.
I'm bad at this, okay?
No, you're
I've never
good.
been good at I've never
I was
been
gonna
good at
say
arguing my.
I have a really good argument for you that Tony could probably still debunk, but I think it's one I'm pretty sure it's one you haven't tried yet, or maybe you have, but I don't think so.
I've never been great at defending my
Where if
side.
you balance where if you balance a game more, you can at times prevent like stagnation of gameplay in terms of like the meta more constantly evolves in like a circle. I'm just not using like rock paper scissors as an example here, but the meta goes in a circle depending on what people are using, and the meta just keeps resetting or whatever, or not entirely, and people find different
do,
dynamics. But essentially, just to simplify it, just preventing stagnation of gameplay would be a good argument for
do you mean
you.
like? Sorry, do you mean like with patches?
Yeah,
Um,
kind of like uh,
No, no, Jared. I was asking him because it's his argument, not
uh,
yours.
I mean, you could elaborate and add on to that by saying you could do it with patches. So I'm gonna say yes, but not really strictly what I was talking about. I was just talking about like I guess in the modern days, since patches are a regular thing for any video game, I guess I would say yes because you don't really get a game at base form and get it kept at base form. It will get updates, but
Yeah.
you mean like a
Did you just mean
rotational
like
system?
natural evolution?
yeah, natural evolution, not necessarily patches, but like
Okay.
natural evolution and people just like finding different things, but like nothing is so broken that it's just that one thing like controlling the meta is like it's not stagnant. People are just like not circling the meta perfectly, but they're making the meta different consistently enough to where it's not entirely boring, which is what I mean by like prevent stagnation of gameplay.
Yeah, I
I mean,
see.
could. Yeah, I was almost thinking you were talking about like a rotational system where like over time,
Not
certain
entirely.
things get brought in.
So like I can't really call it a perfect rotational system. Something closer to like a perfect rotational system would come out of something like a rotation format in like a Pokemon or in Magic the Gathering some or whatever in terms of like legacy
Uh,
formats or stuff like that. But that's something different than what I was talking about.
yeah.
I'm not
I think
necessarily saying this argument to help Jared out, just more so uses it as an example to get him to be more creative because I don't think I'm 100% correct just because I can deliver an argument better. I just
Uh,
think that there's things he misses sometimes. So
I'm
yeah, I said that.
historically terrible at defending my own opinions.
sorry,
Well, that's fair.
I wasn't trying to defend your opinion better than you. I was just trying to give an example there.
Okay, can I like use like numbers, like statistics for an
Sure,
argument here?
Yeah.
So,
sure.
because I'll be honest, I know it's not always like that, but I know for a lot of games, a lot of the balancing is done through the numbers. Um, and I spend a lot of time with numbers. So one thing
Okay.
I always try to do is, one thing I learned, thankfully, from a Troy video, is that every game has a sort of stat hierarchy. And I feel like one of the important things for balance is to make sure you treat the stronger stats with a grain of salt, and you can go more wild with the weaker stats. I feel like that can make a game more balanced. So I pay a lot of attention to stuff like that, and that's one of the things. I also try to make sure that the gap between stats never gets too big. Because in my head, if you make the gap too big between numbers, that's a sort of way to create unbalance. Part of the balance for
Yeah.
me when I'm making something is how close the numbers are to each other.
Right.
I know it's kind of a weird way to think about it, but that's kind of how my thought process goes when I'm in programmer mode. That's the kind of stuff I think about for balance.
Hey guys, I gotta
Okay.
go.
All right. Thanks for stopping by,
See
Shoto.
you, Shoto.
I'm sorry.
Have a nice
I'm
day.
sorry.
No
I'll be here
worries.
next
That's
time.
okay.
So, okay, so I was gonna read some of Zool's comments here because I think he was adding on to what I said. So before I finished talking, I believe he said, I suppose that less moving parts in a game can make it easier to balance, but part of giving a game many things is about giving it variety. And then after I had mentioned giving that argument for Jared of preventing stagnation of gameplay or whatever, he added to that by saying, that reminds me of a crazy thing that happened in the first Platoon. At first, everybody was trying to go for damage up and defense up gear and constant tug of war of offense versus defense, which was very annoying because back then all the gear abilities were fully random and you couldn't add your own chunks. Until a Japanese team started using fast respawn, making the whole tug of war nonsense obsolete. Like abandoning damage up and defense up gear in favor of fast respawn made some weapons stronger, while others were abandoned due to gear synergy. And then he also said, "See you, Shoto." Oh,
That's great.
What were we just saying?
nothing.
So I was talking to. So
Go.
I don't know if you guys have anything to say about my numbers argument. It probably wasn't that good.
I do.
I don't know.
I of course do. Right.
Turn on the
So,
lights here. One sec.
Get ready to shoot me down again.
sorry. What did you say, Luis?
I just said I was gonna turn on the lights in my room to give me a sec. You can go now.
Okay. Right. So that's logical in theory. So basically, you said you don't want the difference between numbers to be too big, right?
Generally speaking.
Generally speaking. Okay, of course. Also, you stated about a hierarchy of stats. See, I will say this: that is a very hard thing to gauge in testing without a ton of pre-knowledge of the genre you're working in.
Yes, that's why research can be important for balance too.
Yes, but when it comes to numbers being close enough or not close enough, I'd argue that um, sometimes that is fine, depending again on your power budget. But if you want to make a type of character, whether it be a whole archetype or a singular character, really stand out, they sometimes need something very polarizing. Like I don't know, say a character with comically good handling, but they sacrifice another stat hard to make them really stand out. Because besides the fact that some humans really just like min maxing, like the concept of min maxing, where they sacrifice one thing for another, really helps the character stand out. Now, does that make them imbalanced? I mean, technically, it does make the character themselves imbalanced, but it doesn't strictly mean that the character themselves will be overpowered or underpowered, strictly speaking.
Zool says balancing games back in the day was very hard. Imagine what HAL Laboratories would have done if they could have patched Melee monthly for 4 years. It's true. They would have. Dude, no, can I tell you one thing here? Can I tell you one thing? If they could actually patch the game back then and get rid of wave dashing and out canceling, it wouldn't have gotten rid of the melee community because you know what would have happened? They would have modded
They would have put on version.
they would have modded the fucking they would have just not either not updated or they would have modded the game on PC eventually to where they could just play the original version with all the brokenness that we have right now still. But it might have not happened immediately. I will admit there's a chance it might have not happened, and because modding wasn't as common back in the day during that time, it's possible that the game could have died and then just have not brought back the original version quick enough to retain the game's popularity. But who knows where that would have gone? We never had that situation occur back then for Melee, so.
Didn't Sakurai say the wave dashes were intended?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
However, it's not past Nintendo or its second parties, specifically here, to remove intentional tech. Looks item bagging, which is technically not even a glitch; it's just an exploit.
Yeah, that's
And that
wait,
that would
wait, have they
suck.
actually have they ever said that was intentional? Like that item bagging was
No,
supposed to.
but here's what I mean. It is an exploit and it is intentional mechanics because in Mario Kart, it simply works as the further behind you are, the better item you get.
Yes.
So
So
no rules are being broken.
So they did know about wave dashing in the game, but they technically didn't put it in there on purpose, and they didn't get rid of it at all. Which, um, I technically already knew about. They left it in there, even though they didn't intend for it to be there on purpose. Even though Zool said it now, he said it's possible they would have kept wave dash. Apparently, they found out about it back during beta testing and decided to leave it in. It's just a consequence of Melee's physics, and just to add on to that, they left it in because they didn't have the foresight to predict that it was going to be abused at a level it's abused at today.
Yeah.
This is actually a phenomenon I see in some games, and I think I've even had it happen to me before, where something unintentional happens, and instead of being angry about it, you welcome it. It's like, this is a good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's getting into like some granular stuff, like um, tech being good for the game, like unintentional stuff being good for the game. Because Melee would not be half the game it is if wave. It would not be like nearly as recognized today if they didn't have wave dash. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
People might not even care about the game that much if it wasn't for wave dashing, because it's just such an expressive part of movement. But even then, if we try to bring this back to our topic, it is inherently unbalanced because it gives every character in the game, insane movement potential. But that's the thing. Every
Um,
character gets way more movement potential
yeah.
because of this mechanic.
Zool gave another example of like a patch they could have done if they were able to patch melee like we traditionally patch games today, where he said they could keep wave dash, but for example, on a patch they nerf Fox deflectors, so you cannot immediately cancel it with jumping.
Yeah.
No, here's the thing. If the overall mobility between characters is still fairly similar, then it doesn't really make it unbalanced if every character gets the same thing.
No, they're not. No, there are definitely tier lists of wave dashes. There's a reason why Fox is the top tier. Is partly because he gets one of the best wave dashes in the game.
Not only
But the
that,
fact that everyone has,
most characters struggle against Fox for a similar reason, and that is because they're not fast enough to keep up with the character. Technically, most of the time when a character doesn't do good in the matchup in melee, it could be multiple reasons for it, but the primary reason for most matchups in the game being bad tends to like fall into place of, oh, my character isn't fast enough to keep up with that character, and that's mostly true in the neutral.
yeah. However, I will say those characters would probably struggle more if they couldn't wave dash themselves anyway. Honestly,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Some
I don't
characters
know
have
much
wave
about the.
dashes that are that bad.
Have you seen Bowser's? It's pretty unimpressive. I try to remember who has the worst wave dash. It's not Bowser.
Oh my god. Let's go.
That's the only one awake, but she's in her room. Okay? I'll get you a soda, but I need to get some medicine.
Okay.
Thank you.
What the heck?
That was Jessica. Don't worry about it.
Was she talking to you guys?
Um.
To him.
Yes,
To
but
hell.
I don't want to. But I don't want to bring it up here. Also, you shouldn't have said her name probably, but that's besides the point.
Who the fuck knows her?
No, I just don't like the idea of revealing at least partial identities of people who aren't involved in my content. Personally, but
Gotcha.
what were we
I
just?
mean,
What were
my
we just?
my my best recommendation for that would be to let them know that you're doing content before you go and do it. But
I think I told them, but that was Jared's thing though. In this case,
gotcha.
what were we talking about melee? But like these characters would probably struggle more in these matchups if they do even have the access to wave dash. So technically speaking, it still balances out some of the characters in some ways. I don't know if Zoo agrees though.
Either that or they got destroyed by Sheik's chain grab. She was the first filter in the melee community. That's true. I mean, she was originally number one on the tier list before Fox was because people found her significantly easier to play as. But as people got better at Fox, they realized that Fox was better.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what to add to that. For what he said about the wave dashing, I don't have any argument.
Yeah, that's fun. Um, But based on what you said earlier, I think you might just be you think you were kind of confusing balance and power budget because like yeah, I mean a power budget of a game could be a completely absurd, but that's why there's their own subcategory of video games, literally
Yeah.
Kusoges.
Mhm.
Actually, I remember something that you guys were saying earlier, but we kind of went on a big tangent about characters who have a highly polarizing stat and a low stat. He was trying to argue with the numbers. Um, yeah, I won't lie. I've had my fair share of times growing up where I'm like, oh, these guys' stats are way up and way down, lols, and then I like just play around with them. Although a lot of times in the games they're usually not good, but they're at least funny.
That's why I've only had a single
Exactly.
viewer. I forgot to ping people again.
Dang it! How did we
So I
forget?
guess in this case, yes, it's good for fun, but maybe it's not the best for balance sometimes.
But maybe at the end of the day, balance is not the ultimate achievement. But even in that regard, the imbalance itself creates the fun within that character, even if they're not
Mhm.
strictly great competitively speaking.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm just scared that whenever I make something, I usually don't want to like intentionally make things too UP or too OP.
I know what you
Well,
mean.
that's fine.
There
No,
was
but
literally Jared was telling me for his game Jared cart, somebody found two really big. There was two really big skips that were found on his tracks, and he thought that two big skips were too many for a game, so he got rid of one of them, so that there's only one big skip in this game.
did it require a mushroom?
I don't
No, no.
know.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing. Let me explain.
Okay.
So the shortcuts were disproportionate though, because the one in Stunt Arena only saves like 20 seconds, which yeah, that's a lot. But the one in Bedroom that skips like half the lap, and you can
But
basically beat
my
the track in like under a minute using
okay,
it. It's stupid.
my question is, Jared, you did it to get rid of one. Still, do you feel that two big skips is too many?
I just thought the one in Bedroom was too powerful.
Okay,
That
gotcha.
doesn't
Because it
answer my
skips too
Yeah, I
question.
was
much.
gonna say, so like, do you think, so, so, I would imagine you just don't, for your games. My question was, is two big skips too many? Like, if it was shorter like the other one, would you have kept it in, or would you have still gotten rid of one?
Maybe it depends on how easy it is to do too.
See, that's what I'm just
Because
trying to say though.
Go on,
the
Tony.
Bedroom
You'll
one
say it
is
better.
uh
Because we don't know much about these games, so it's easier if I just ask a simple question. Do these require mushrooms and are they hard?
neither of them require mushrooms. Um,
Okay.
Are they hard?
so well, the Bedroom one's actually not that bad. You just have to do you just have to steer off of a boost ramp in the right direction, and then you swerve around the track, and it messes with the checkpoints and everything, and then you just skip
We
like
don't have
half
to
the
know the
track.
specific. Yeah.
Um, and for um stunt, it's not super hard, but you do have to scale up a seam on a wall. You have to basically hop up a seam on a wall to skip part of the track.
Okay.
It does take a little practice to get right, but it's doable.
Yeah.
And it doesn't save nearly as much time, so I thought, you know what, I'll let you have this one. It's not too bad. Um, I just thought the other one was a little too crazy because you skip almost the whole lap in one jump.
Fair enough.
Although, even for the Star Arena one, it's one of those cases of usually I wouldn't allow it, but I'm going to be nice. That's kind of what happened with Stunner. Is like I'm going to be nice this time and let you have it.
What would make you consider having the shortcut be allowed normally then?
Oh, I'm gonna
Well,
ask Zool's question over here in a sec when you guys are done.
Okay.
it's obviously unintentional and it skips a lot of time, and I always think this kind of just makes me look bad. I want to have no
Okay,
solid
so
design
that's
for that.
so that's the answer. So like essentially if someone finds like a big skip, you feel like that makes you look bad. But can I tell you something from like the perspective of a gamer? I've never thought in my entire life that a developer was bad simply because of an exploit was found. Like that thought has never occurred to me. And I don't think Tony, has that thought ever occurred to you? Like you found a big exploit, or you know of a big exploit that someone else found, and you're just like, "Wow, this developer sucks." Has that ever crossed your mind before?
Once.
Once, okay, gotcha. But would you say, but would something for like the type of situation similar to Jared's has it ever come up for you?
Uh, Not really. Like, okay, I guess if I want to give context real quick, there's one point Super Mario Galaxy where I'm like, what did the developers do with? How did the developers leave this in the game? But there's the Super Mario Galaxy devs, so I'm like, the game's still great.
Gotcha. Okay, I'm gonna go to what Zool said now. He said,
Okay.
by the way, have you guys seen the UF GTX Salty Silent Auction Mugen tournament video? Now that's a bunch of unbalanced
Yeah.
chaotic characters if I've ever seen one. I've seen it before. You know the game Mugen tournament?
I
Yeah.
don't know.
So he's talking about that, but there's a video for it.
Yeah.
So,
I, I
anyways,
I've watched Marvel.
gotcha. So he says, so more of a case of not all skips are created equal is what MT Zool is. He put not all skips are created equal in parentheses. So more of a case
Yeah.
of, as in like he's trying to clarify that's what Jared means. But he also said, heck, sometimes exploits are what make a game fun, but I guess it depends on the exploit too. Yeah.
Oh,
I
obviously,
just
of course.
I just take my design very seriously. As a developer, I want to make a good impression, and honestly, whenever my games are more solid, it makes me feel like a better designer. It makes me feel like I'm better at making games if there's less
I
glitches.
gotcha. I
Yes,
mean, what makes you
but
feel like a better developer probably varies from person to person. I feel like personally, and I'm not saying I'm ever going to get into it, but personally, if I made a mod for Mario Kart of my own and someone found a very like a very long skip, personally myself, I'd probably keep it in there because I think they're fun to look at.
yeah, but to me, what I was gonna say, now we're kind of getting to the idea of glitches causing balance issues, which is kind of sort of a little outside the scope of this topic because that's getting to like very granular game design stuff. Because the reason wave dashing I was okay with discussing wave dashing is because that's an intentional mechanic being used in an unintentional way. When it comes to like glitches and like very whack stuff, like glitches, that's starting to get to outside the normal design of the games and like somewhat
Yeah.
intentional design.
Which I am fully aware of that. The only reason I asked them to clarify and to elaborate is primarily because I um getting rid of the skip in my eyes or in my head doesn't really make all that entirely sense in like the scope of how he's explaining things, but I just kind of like I wasn't asking him to like correct him or anything. I was just genuinely asking to get his thought process was all.
Yeah.
I also just thought that make it so you can't just skip half the track in a jump would just make the games more fair for when you're playing multiplayer on the track.
Well, then technically everyone would start doing it. So technically it would be
Yeah, and
fair.
at the same time though, I know this is a weird sentiment, but I kind of see my creations as like something I want everyone to experience the full thing. And when people like to just skip parts of it, it's like, man, you're just neglecting the rest of the track now. I'm sad.
No, technically they had to discover in the first place, though. They had to explore the track to learn where the skip was in the first place, though.
It's one thing if it's like glitch hunters and speedrunners can find stuff because that's kind of their job. But I just wait. I just feel like if it's too easy to find, then I feel like I made a mistake. It's like they should at
Yeah.
least be hard to find.
You have to get medicine.
Because honestly, the bedroom one was way too easy to do. You just had to angle your jump a little to the left when you jump off the ramp, and if you steer at the right time, you just do a big circular jump, and it tricks the game into thinking you went like half a lap past the next lap. It like tricks the checkpoints.
Hey Tony,
Yeah. Yeah.
would it be more convenient if we ended the stream for you soon? I can't tell if you need to leave the room or not.
No, I don't. I don't have to go anywhere.
Okay. Gotcha, gotcha.
Now, I'm not going to say it's the end of the world when people find cracks. It's just that for me, I try to put a lot of effort into preventing them.
Yeah. But like again, we're sort of getting into glitch discussion. That's like a whole different thing than what we're sort of
Guys,
starting on.
guys, I hope you guys get the actually, I don't care if you do get the reference or not. I'm just gonna say, I'm just gonna end this debate once and for all. Boom, bap,
Okay.
bop, bada bop, boom, pow. Yep.
That's such a good meme, bro.
It is.
Dude, no, you know the meme. You can't lie your way out. You know that meme.
What meme?
Oh my
What he
god.
just did.
Boom,
Would you like to
bam.
repeat, Mr.
Yeah, I'll repeat it. Boom, bam, bop, bada bop, boom, pow.
Where's that from?
Super hot fire. Have you ever seen the GIF with like with this guy's like homies in the background popping off for him? Like they're just like, oh, oh, oh. I was like, man, they
I
were
might
hyping
have-
them up.
I-
They were hyping them up. It's crazy.
I might have heard it somewhere, but I didn't know what it was.
Gotcha.
Actually, that's a lot of memes for me. I'll hear them, but I don't know where they come from. They just appear.
Also,
Yeah.
to quote Zool right now, he says, besides, there's a difference between melee broken and big rigs broken.
Yeah, no, that's like, yeah.
Yeah.
Did you ever want to drive at infinite speed backwards?
Actually, yeah, I have thought about that before.
Yeah, there's
pretty
no
cool.
speed. There's no speed cap going backwards. It's really funny.
But, anyways, Luis, did you have another segment planned?
Not until next week. I was gonna have those segments added
Would you
next
like to?
week. Elaborate on them.
Would you like to? Sorry.
Yeah, maybe you can
Yeah.
at least give like a little preview and like explain like what they're going to be.
So essentially, we're gonna have a bit called consumed takes, and it's essentially just gonna have you guys comment like a controversial or a niche opinion, and then we are gonna kindly or meanly, I don't care how we do it, discuss. We're gonna discuss it ourselves and talk about it in our opinions as well, and like what we think are facts as well, whatever. We'll just discuss whatever your niche opinion or controversial opinion or whatever it is on that, as long as it has to do with like gaming or anime or whatever. But that was going to be consumed takes, which lets us go off topic a little bit. There's another one called forbidden knowledge, which is going to be more of like a trivia thing where either me, Hellraiser, and uh Golden Gem Games or Shoto probably will ask like a question, and like we'll have people vote on it or whatever and then reveal the correct answer just to reset a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think that's all I have to say for today, but I can keep going infinitely longer depending on how much more you guys have to say.
Honestly,
I feel like
I
I said
kind of
everything
already.
I wanted to.
What's up?
Yeah, I pretty much already branched off topic, and if I keep going, I'm probably just gonna keep talking about my game again. So that's off topic. So yeah, no.
I'll see you next time, Zool. It was nice seeing you, buddy. Actually, Zool, I'm gonna message you right now because you might be available to help me. Anyways, thank you for coming to the stream. Thank you for coming here for Hellraiser. I know you all come here for Hellraiser, so you should just subscribe to Hellraiser. Subscribe to Hellraiser because I know he's the reason you all come here for. I know you guys like Tekken. I know you guys like grabs. I know you guys like grapplers. I know you guys like Hell and Fire, so you might as well just subscribe to him because he brings all that to the table plus more knowledge. And he listen, you don't go to Tony for to Hellraiser for entertainment primarily, although he can give decent entertainment. But he's the guy you go to more for like just random fun game knowledge because that's more his specialty. Like he's primarily like doing Tekken videos at the moment. He's doing like grab videos for Smash Brothers that he's a little bit behind on, but he still wants to work on them.
Yeah, no, I don't know when it'll be done. I promise, guys will be done.
Anyways,
What am I, a Tinkle Peach?
anyways, I think that's all the shout outs I need. Oh, you're right, I forgot. Shout outs to Zool. Subscribe to Zool's. Follow Zool's Twitch channel. He actually was commenting on the stream here pretty consistently. So if you guys want to follow Zool, he does very great content. I would say he between the four of but even more so than me, Hellraiser and Golden Gem Games, like he does way more variety streaming in my opinion, like regularly, even for like competitive games. So you guys should check out Zool's Twitch channel. Amazing content creator, amazing guy to listen to. You guys will love him. Also, most importantly, subscribe to my YouTube channel and follow my Twitch channel. Um, you'll see more content, posts, shorts, videos, and podcasts all around. And then I think that's everything. Did I forget anything, guys?
I don't think so.
No
Oh.
comment.
Oh, yeah. Okay, well, uh, yeah, no, subscribe to Golden Gem Games too, I guess. But yeah, no, that's a wrap, you guys. Good job.
Hey, we'll blow, man.
All right.
All right.
No, but not for real. Subscribe to Golden Gem Games, guys. Seriously, he does okay content. I like him. He does a PFA series right now with Yu-Gi-Oh. Primarily for the most part right now. He's not really doing much else, but yeah, subscribe to him for PFA if you like Yu-Gi-Oh.